Welcome back. I have another confession from the ruins of Skyrim. This video explores what it truly means to exist as a dragon priest, to have your soul bound to an enchanted mask for all eternity. 4,000 years of consciousness trapped in darkness. When you see those masked figures hovering in ancient Nordic tombs, you are looking at something far more terrible than simple undead. You are witnessing an immortal awareness, imprisoned in metal and magic, screaming silently inside a prison that will outlast civilizations. They were promised eternal life by the dragons. They received eternal suffering instead. This is one priest's testimony of what that existence feels like, moment by endless moment, with no hope of escape or release. And if you genuinely enjoy this kind of dark storytelling, consider subscribing and liking the channel, but only if it truly resonates with you. I need you to understand something before I begin. This is not a warning you can heed. This is not advice you can follow. This is simply the truth of what happened to me and what I became. 4,000 years is a long time to think about a single decision. 4,000 years is longer still when you spend every moment of it screaming inside a prison measured in inches. My name was something once. I remember the sound of it spoken by my mother when I was a child in the frozen villages of Atmora. I remember how my father taught me the old words, the tongue of power that dragons spoke when the world was young. But names fade when you have nothing but darkness and the echo of your own thoughts. Now I am only the mask. The mask is all I ever was, all I will ever be. They called us dragon priests because we served the winged gods who ruled the skies. We were not slaves. We were chosen, elevated above common men to stand at the right hand of creatures who could split mountains with their voice and burn cities with their breath. In the great temple city of Bromjunaar, we made laws that kings followed. We spoke words that no other human tongue was permitted to utter. We controlled armies. We shaped the fate of nations. I was among the highest of our order. I stood in the grand sanctuary beneath Bromjunaar, where only the 8 most powerful priests were permitted to gather. I wore robes woven with dragon scales. I carried a staff that channeled the raw fury of storms. When I spoke, men trembled. When I commanded, they obeyed without question. I thought I understood power. I thought I knew what it meant to be immortal. The dragons promised us eternity. Not the hollow eternity of tales and songs, but true endless existence. They said we would witness the turning of ages, the rise and fall of empires, the slow transformation of the world itself. We would serve them forever, yes, but what greater honor could there be than to stand beside gods through all the epochs of time? Morokei was the one who showed us the way. He was older than most of us, wiser in the insech, dragon magic, closer to our winged masters. He gathered us in secret chambers deep beneath the temple, places where even the lesser priests could not venture. There he laid out the ritual that would transform us. There he showed us the masks. They were beautiful in a way that made your chest ache to look at them. Each one was different. Some carved from ebony, so dark it seemed to drink the torchlight. Others wrought from moonstone that glowed with an inner radiance. Mine was crafted from materials I could not even name, enchanted beyond anything I had seen in decades of studying the arcane arts. When I held it in my hands, I felt the power radiating from it, like heat from a forge. Morokei told us the dragons had crafted these masks as vessels, not just vessels for enchantments, but vessels for us, our consciousness, our very souls. He said the process would free us from the tyranny of flesh, from the weakness of mortal bodies that aged and sickened and died. We would become something greater, something beyond death. I believed him. We all did. How could we not? We had seen dragons call lightning from clear skies. We had watched them raise the dead with a word. We had witnessed magic that defied every law of nature we understood. If the dragons said they could grant us immortality through these masks, who were we to doubt? The ritual chamber was prepared in the deepest level of the temple. Ancient stones older than human memory surrounded us. Dragon blood, fresh and still warm, filled silver bowls arranged in careful patterns. The masks waited on pedestals of carved obsidian. 9 of us stood in that chamber. Only 8 would leave. Morokei began the chanting. The words were in the oldest dragon tongue, words so ancient that speaking them made your throat bleed. We joined our voices to his. The air itself began to vibrate. The dragon blood in the bowls started to smoke and hiss. I felt the magic building around us like pressure before a storm. Then, Moroke took the first mask and placed it on his own face. I watched as his body went rigid. I heard him make a sound that was not quite a scream and not quite a laugh. Light burst from the eye sockets of the mask, so bright I had to look away. When I looked back, Moroke was different. He moved wrong, floated instead of walked. His robes hung on a frame that seemed less solid than it should be, but he was smiling. I could not see his face beneath the mask, but I knew he was smiling. He turned to us and said, in a voice like wind, through a tomb, that it was glorious. He said he could feel the power coursing through him, unlimited and eternal. He said we would thank the dragons forever for this gift. One by one, my brothers took their masks. One by one, they placed them on their faces and went through the same terrible transformation. Some of them screamed, some of them laughed, some made no sound at all, but all of them changed. Then it was my turn. I lifted my mask with hands that trembled, though I told myself it was anticipation and not fear. The metal was cold, despite the warmth of the chamber. I could feel the enchantments woven into every curve and line of it. They felt alive, hungry. I placed the mask on my face. For one perfect moment, nothing happened. I thought perhaps I had done something wrong. Perhaps I was not worthy. Perhaps the magic would not take me. Then the pain began. It started as a tingling sensation across my skin, like touching your tongue to cold metal. But it spread. It deepened. It became a burning that consumed every nerve in my body. I felt my flesh beginning to dissolve. Not melt or rot or decay, but simply cease to exist. It was being unmade at a level so fundamental that there are no words for it in any language. I tried to scream, but I had no throat to scream with. I tried to reach up and tear the mask from my face, but my hands were already gone. My body was coming apart like smoke in a strong wind. Everything that made me physical was being pulled into the mask, into the dragon magic woven through its core. They had not lied about immortality, but they had not told us the price. My consciousness did not simply move into the mask. It became the mask. Every thought I have ever had since that moment happens inside this prison of enchanted metal. My awareness is spread across its inner surface like oil on water. I can feel every imperfection in the carving, every tiny scratch, every place where the metal is slightly thicker or thinner than the rest. There is no sleep for me, no rest, no moment of unconsciousness or peace. I am awake, always awake, trapped in absolute darkness with only my memories for company. 4,000 years of this. 4,000 years of being aware of every passing second, every crawling minute, every endless hour. The draugr help in their way. My followers, the ones who were buried with me when the Dragon War finally ended and we went into hiding. They rise every day from their tombs and perform the ritual. They kneel before my sarcophagus and channel their life force into me. I feel it flowing into the mask, into me, a thin trickle of vitality that keeps me bound to this half-existence. They think it is worship. They think they are serving me, but it is a chain. Every ritual, every offering of their life essence, it binds me tighter to this prison. It keeps me here. It prevents me from fading into whatever comes after, from finding any escape in true death. The darkness is not empty. I dream things I never dreamed when I had eyes to close and a brain to quiet. I see the Dragon War as if I am still fighting in it. I watch Alduin fall from the sky over and over. I witness the rebellion of men and the fall of our order in visions more real than memory. Sometimes I think I am going mad. Sometimes I think I went mad centuries ago, and these thoughts I have are just the last electrical patterns of a dead mind repeating themselves in the void. Sometimes I wonder if I died in that ritual chamber, and this is simply what comes after, an eternity of consciousness without form, trapped in the very item that was supposed to set me free. Asterisk, asterisk. What do you think really happened here? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I would like to know if I am the only one who feels this way. Asterisk, asterisk. The worst part is not the solitude. It is not the darkness, or the endless awareness, or even the knowledge that I will exist like this until the world itself crumbles to dust. The worst part is that I remember why I chose this. I remember standing in that chamber, holding the mask, thinking about all the power and glory that awaited me. I remember wanting it so badly that I ignored every warning sign, every whisper of doubt. I damned myself, and I did it with my eyes open. Time moves differently when you exist outside of flesh. In the beginning, I tried to count the days. I would feel the draugr rise from their crypts and perform their ritual, and I would mark it as one. Cycle complete, morning to morning, if such words have meaning in the eternal darkness of a tomb. But the counts became impossible. Numbers stretch and blur when you have nothing to anchor them to. Was that 1,000 days or 10,000? Did a century just pass, or merely a decade? Eventually, I stopped counting. There is no point. Whether it has been 3,000 years, or 4,000 years, or 5, what difference does it make? I am still here. I will always be here. The first few centuries were the hardest. I fought against it. I raged inside my prison, throwing my consciousness against the boundaries of the mask like a caged animal hurling itself at iron bars. I tried to remember the words of power that might break the enchantment. I attempted to manipulate the dragon magic that bound me, to find some flaw in the ritual that had trapped me here. Nothing worked. The dragons were thorough in their craft. The mask is perfect. The enchantments are flawless. There is no escape from the inside. I am not imprisoned in the mask. I am the mask. Breaking it would not free me. It would simply end me. And even that is uncertain, because I no longer know if I can truly die. So, I learned to exist in a different way. I learned to sink into the memories. They became more real to me than the darkness. I could spend what felt like years reliving a single conversation from my childhood. I would replay the sensation of cold wind on my face during winter in Atmora. I would remember the taste of roasted meat at feast days, the sound of my sister's laughter, the smell of pine smoke from the longhouse fires. But memories are treacherous companions for an immortal mind. They change shape over time. Details shift and mutate. I can no longer be certain which parts are true and which parts I have invented to fill the gaps. Did my mother's hair gleam like copper in the firelight, or have I confused her with someone else? Was my sister's laugh high and bright, or am I remembering a song I heard instead? The more I examined my memories, the more they fell apart in my hands like old parchment. Now I am not even certain my mother and sister existed at all. Perhaps I invented them. Perhaps I have been alone inside this mask so long that I created entire lifetimes to keep myself company in the void. I think about the others sometimes. My fellow priests who took the masks on that day in Bromjunaar. Are they suffering as I suffer? Are they trapped in the same eternal awareness, the same suffocating consciousness without end? Or did something different happen to them? Maybe some of them found peace in this state. Maybe their minds broke early and they drifted into a kind of undead sleep. I hope so. I hope they are not awake like I am. I hope they do not feel every second crawling past with the weight of centuries. I would not wish this on anyone, not even my enemies from the Dragon War, not even the rebels who brought down our order and forced us into hiding. The tomb itself became familiar in ways I never wanted. Through the mask's enchantments, I can sense things, not see them, not exactly, but perceive them in a way that has no equivalent in living experience. I know the shape of my sarcophagus. I can feel the stone of the burial chamber. I sense the draugr moving through their rituals with the precision of machines wound tight and set to repeat the same motions forever. They were men once, my draugr servants, loyal followers of the dragon cult who chose to be buried with me so they could serve their priest for eternity. They thought it would be an honor. They believed they would be resurrected when Alduin returned and the dragons reclaimed the world. They had faith that their sacrifice meant something. Now they are hollow things, dried husks animated by the same magic that keeps me bound to this mask. They rise and they kneel, and they channel their life force into me, and they clean the chamber, and they return to their crypts, day after day, Century after century, they are slaves to a ritual they no longer understand, serving a master who cannot even speak to them. I envy them. Their minds are shattered. They do not think, they do not question. They do not remember what they were or understand what they have become. They simply are, and that is a kind of peace I will never know. The magic sustains me. The daily ritual of the draugr feeds power into the mask, into me, keeping my consciousness sharp and aware and trapped. Without it, perhaps I would fade. Perhaps my awareness would dim, and I would finally find oblivion. But the draugr are thorough. They never miss a day. They never skip the ritual. They are perfect servants in their mindless way. I have tried to will them to stop. I have screamed at them inside my prison, commanding them with all the authority I once possessed as a dragon priest. But I have no voice. I have no power over them anymore. I am just a presence, a ghost haunting its own tomb from inside a metal shell. The centuries taught me things about the nature of consciousness that no living being could ever understand. I learned that memory is not stored in the brain, but woven through the entire structure of existence. I learned that time is not linear but spiral, folding back on itself in ways that create strange echoes. I learned that solitude can be survived indefinitely if you have no other choice. But most importantly, I learned that immortality is a curse more terrible than any death. The dragons gave us exactly what they promised. We would exist forever. We would witness the turning of ages. We would never die. They simply forgot to mention that existence without end becomes its own kind of torture. That consciousness, stretched across millennia, loses its shape and meaning. That forever is too long for any mind to bear. Sometimes I feel the world changing above me. Earthquakes shake the tomb. I sense the passage of seasons in subtle shifts of temperature that seep through stone. Once, perhaps 2,000 years into my imprisonment, I felt something massive moving across the land above. It shook the earth like thunder, and I knew in my hollow core that it was a dragon, one of the old ones, flying free again after the long sleep. For a moment I felt hope. I thought perhaps Alduin had returned. Perhaps the dragons would come to reclaim their faithful servants. Perhaps they would remember their priests and release us from these prisons of their making. I waited for the tomb to open. I listened for the sound of talons on stone. No one came. The dragon passed, and the earth grew still again. I was alone in the darkness with only my thoughts for company, just as I had been before, just as I would be forever. Asterisk, asterisk. If you have ever wondered what choice you would make in a situation like this, tell me in the comments. I will be reading them. Asterisk, asterisk. The strangest thing is that I still believe. After 4,000 years of this nightmare, I still hold to the oaths I swore in that ritual chamber. I still serve the dragon cult in my way, not because I have any hope of reward or rescue, not because I think the dragons will return and praise me for my faithfulness, but because belief is all I have left. Without it, I am just a ghost screaming in a metal shell. With it, I am still a dragon priest. I am still something that matters. When adventurers come, I can feel them approaching long before they reach the inner chamber. Their living warmth disturbs the cold stagnation of the tomb like ripples on still water. I sense their heartbeats, their breath, their mortality. It makes me remember what it was like to be human, what it was like to bleed and hunger and feel the sun on skin that could still feel. The draugr attack them, of course. That is what they are for. Eternal guardians, undying soldiers protecting their master's rest. Most adventurers die in the outer chambers, cut down by ancient Nordic steel, wielded by corpses that feel no pain and know no fear. Their blood soaks into floors that have drunk the blood of thousands before them. But some get through. Some are strong enough, or skilled enough, or simply lucky enough to fight their way past the draugr and reach the inner sanctum. They stand before my sarcophagus, and I can feel their living presence like heat against my consciousness. They are so close, so real, so magnificently, wonderfully alive. Then they break the seal and open the coffin. Light floods in for the first time in however long it has been since I was last disturbed. I feel it through the mask like needles of fire. It hurts. By all the dragons, it hurts. but it is sensation. It is something other than darkness and silence and my own thoughts eating themselves. If this story has kept you listening this far, and you want more of these dark confessions from Skyrim, hit that subscribe button. It tells me someone out there is still paying attention to warnings like these. The sarcophagus lid crashes open, and I surge upward, powered by dragon magic and 4 millennia of accumulated rage. My form coalesces from the darkness, not flesh, never flesh again, but something that holds shape through sheer force of will and ancient enchantments. The draugr magic that keeps me animated pulls tight around the mask, creating the illusion of a body beneath my robes. I hover above the ground because feet are for creatures that need to walk, and I stopped being that kind of creature long ago. The adventurer before me takes a step back. I can taste their fear in the air. It is delicious and horrible at the same time. They have no idea what they have awakened. They think I am simply another undead guardian, another obstacle to overcome on their way to whatever treasure they seek. They are wrong. I am so much more than that. I am a warning written in ancient magic and sustained suffering. I am proof that some prices are too high to pay, even for immortality. I raise my staff, and the battle begins. The adventurer is skilled. They dodge my spells with practiced ease. They counter my magic with their own. They are strong and fast and alive in ways that make my consciousness ache with phantom memory. I watch them move, and I remember moving like that. I remember the weight of muscles responding to thought. I remember breathing hard after exertion. I remember being real. But I have had 4,000 years to perfect my craft. 4,000 years of nothing but darkness, and thought has given me time to understand magic in ways no living mage ever could. I know every permutation of every spell. I have replayed every battle I ever fought and learned from every mistake. In the eternal theater of my mind, I have become the perfect warrior mage. The adventurer falls to their knees. My magic has drained them. They gasp for breath, bleeding and broken on the floor of my tomb. I could kill them now. One more spell, one final burst of power, and they would join the countless others who thought they could disturb a dragon priest and live. But I do not kill them. Instead, I wait. I watch, because I know what comes next. They always try the mask. They see it resting on my hovering form, gleaming with enchantments, radiating power. They think it is treasure. They think it is reward for their victory. They have no idea it is a prison. The adventurer reaches up with a trembling hand. Their fingers brush the edge of my mask, and in that moment of contact, everything changes. The enchantments that bind me to this thing suddenly have a new target. A living mind, a conscious being with thoughts and memories, and a sense of self still intact. They lift the mask from my face. For one perfect instant, I feel nothing. No prison, no darkness, just the void where I should be. Then the mask settles onto their head, and I am pulled back into hell. But this time, I am not alone. Their mind floods into the space I occupy. Their thoughts crash against mine, like waves against rocks. I feel their memories mixing with my own. I taste their life, their experiences, their very essence. It is the most intimate violation imaginable, more invasive than any physical touch, more terrible than any torture. They are in here with me now, trapped in the same prison. We are tangled together, two consciousnesses sharing a space meant for one. I can feel them screaming, not with their voice, because they have no voice anymore, but with the raw essence of what they are. They are terrified. They do not understand what has happened to them. They think this is death. They wish it were death. I try to tell them it is worse than death. I try to explain that they are now bound to the mask, just as I am. But there is no communication between us. Not really. We are too close for words. We simply are. Pressed against each other in the suffocating darkness, both of us prisoners, both of us aware. Then their body starts moving. The mask takes control. The dragon magic, woven through it, flows into their muscles and nerves and bone. They become the puppet, and we are both the puppeteers and the audience, watching as their hands move without conscious direction, as their feet carry them towards some goal neither of us fully understand. I can see through their eyes. After millennia of darkness, I have vision again. The tomb floods into perception, stone walls covered in ancient carvings, draugr standing at attention in the shadows. The flickering light of magical fire dancing across dust that has lain undisturbed for centuries. It is almost too much to process. Color and shape and depth, all the things I had forgotten existed. But the joy is hollow because I am still trapped. I am just trapped with a view now. The mask uses their body to walk through the tomb. It examines the world through their senses. It feeds on their stamina and their magicka like a parasite drinking from a host. And I feel every moment of it. I feel their horror as they realize they have lost control of their own flesh. I feel their desperation as they try to remove the mask and discover they cannot. The mask will not come off. The enchantments have bonded to their skull. It is part of them now, part of us. We are all prisoners in the same cell, and the cell is walking around wearing their face. Days pass, maybe weeks. Time is strange again now that I have external reference points. The mask walks their body through Skyrim. It seeks out sources of power. It hunts for magical artifacts. It kills anyone who threatens us. And through it all, I watch. I observe. I am a passenger in a stolen body, and I cannot look away. The adventurer's consciousness is weakening. I can feel them fading. The strain of sharing space with me, of being controlled by the mask, it is breaking them down. Their thoughts become less coherent. Their sense of self starts to dissolve. Soon they will be nothing but a faint echo, a ghost of a ghost, barely aware enough to know they are suffering. I should feel guilt about this. I should mourn what I have done to them, but I have been alone for so long that even this terrible intimacy is better than the void. Even sharing my prison with a dying consciousness is preferable to the endless solitude I endured for 4 millennia. I am a monster. The mask made me one, or perhaps I always was, and the mask simply revealed it. Sometimes, when the mask lets them rest, when it sets their body down in some hidden corner to regenerate stamina, I can feel their thoughts turning toward me. They blame me for what happened to them. They think I am the one controlling the mask, using them like a puppet for my own dark purposes. They do not understand that I am as much a victim as they are, that we are both slaves to the dragon magic that created this thing. I want to explain. I want to tell them my story, to make them understand that I chose this fate in ignorance and have regretted it every moment since. But there is no way to communicate in here. We are pressed too close together for language. We can only feel each other, consciousness against consciousness, two minds slowly merging into something that is neither of us and both of us at once. Eventually, their body will die. The mask will drain them completely, taking everything they have until there is nothing left but an empty shell. Then, the mask will return to the tomb. It will settle back onto my hovering form, and I will be alone again in the darkness, with only their fading memories added to my collection of ghosts, unless someone else comes. Unless another adventurer disturbs my sarcophagus and sees the mask and thinks it is treasure, then the cycle will repeat. I will be pulled into their mind. They will be trapped with me. We will share this prison until they fade away or their body fails. This is my eternity, not simple imprisonment in the darkness, not mere awareness without end, but an existence where I am forced to witness and participate in the violation of every soul that touches this cursed artifact. Every adventurer who dons the mask becomes my companion and my victim. Every mind that mingles with mine adds another layer of guilt to the weight I carry. The dragons gave me exactly what they promised: immortality, power beyond mortal understanding, the ability to witness ages pass and empires rise and fall. They kept every word of their bargain. They simply neglected to mention what it would cost, what it would take from me, what it would make me become. I am not alive. I am not dead. I am the mask. The mask is me. We are one thing now, indivisible and eternal. And every person who wears us, every soul who touches this enchanted metal and thinks they are claiming power, they become us too, briefly, terribly, until they fade away or die, and we are forced to return to the tomb and wait for the next one. 4,000 years I have existed this way. 4,000 years of imprisonment and violation and guilt compounded until it feels like the weight of the entire world pressing down on a single point of consciousness. And I will exist this way for 4,000 more, or 40,000, or 400,000, until the world crumbles to dust, until the stars burn out, until time itself ends, and there is nothing left but darkness and the echo of my thoughts. I thought eternal life meant freedom. The dragons taught me that forever can be a prison measured in inches of carved ebony. I chose this. I wanted this. And now I will pay for that choice until existence itself forgets my name. The mask will outlast empires. And so will I, sentenced to serve an absent master until reality itself surrenders to the void. This is what it really means to be a dragon priest. This is the truth they never told us in that ritual chamber beneath Bromjunaar. This is the price of immortality, and there is no escape. There never was. There never will be.